Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trade Group, and it is Monday, September 21st, first day of the month. Well, we started off the day with a decent amount of volatility, and things kind of changed as the day went on. So let's talk a little bit about that price action for the day. First of all, when we came in, to the day, we were down. Futures were down pretty decently, and it was a decent move that happened over in Europe. You can see the DAX finished down 4.4% for the day. And it was one of those situations where, we kind of, when I went to bed last night, futures were around flat. But waking up in the morning, we heard about a couple negative stories out about more COVID issues, and how they're going to be putting in some restrictions, I guess, and in terms of what they're dealing with, I guess, like a potential second wave in Europe. And when this type of move happens in Europe, it will definitely bring down our indices, right? We're not in a vacuum here. Things will really affect us based on what international markets are doing. And if we go over to kind of the performance of the day, once my thought was, hey, we could see a bounce from this, and I do get a bit more aggressive once we've had multiple weeks of declines and we start the day down down decently like we did. It just seems like it's going to invite a little bit of bargain hunting. And we got a Powell headline out. Path ahead highly uncertain, hinges on virus policies. Probably all things that we know about right now. That just hit the tape on Bloomberg. But it was one of those situations where I was looking to be a little bit more aggressive today and buy some of the things that were pretty beaten up that I thought could move decently. And my plan always changes, right? I mean, depending on from how we ended up last week, right? We heard a lot about rotation, value rotation, a move into the material space and so forth. I'll tell you, those names got hit very hard today, and the rotation seemed to go right back into some of these areas that I've got on that are labeled as green. Software names were all finished up almost 2%. I mean, talk about relative strength. The whole group of software rallied 3% from the open. Very, very strong. Solar came back too. Finished flat for the day, but rallied 3.6%. Tech was strong, internets were strong, semis were strong. So very much big tech, right? It's kind of funny how the way that it works. When everybody says tech is dead and so forth, and it's a rotation into all these unloved areas, listen, I got caught in a couple things from, where I was, I've tried very much to take targets in some of the names that I was, positioning in last week. But I added one at the end of the week, which was a steel name. I had traded Nucor. I added that on Thursday and took that off on Friday, I believe, as long as I'm getting my days correct. But I did add Valet, VALE, and that absolutely got smoked today. So, it's just one of those things where sometimes with these rotations, I was talking about this in the macro member video that I sent out on Sunday, saying, "Hey, we really don't know if the rotation that we saw last week is more or less just like an adjustment into some under-owned areas versus, hey, I'm completely getting out of these areas and this is going to be a whole new trend, right? Nobody really knows that, and one of the things that I made a point of making was we just don't know if what we saw the last couple of weeks is just an adjustment into some more value areas, or if it's new leadership, right? And that takes time to see. So, in terms of trading, what I've said for a while now, and I think Jim Cramer says this as well, and I know some people don't like Jim Cramer, some people do like Jim Cramer, but I do extract some finer points that he mentions, and I really haven't wanted to kind of take my portfolio and position it one way or another. I did position in a little bit more material names last week, but overall, I'm still going to own what I think are quality names in both groups, both growth and in value. And and then coming into today, I was looking for some areas, and I highlighted a couple of these names. such as PayPal that I was looking for. This is a quality name, but it ran up really far and it pulled back, and you just kind of have to wait and be patient for the pullback. It was a name that I tried last week too a couple times and bailed on, but this time looked a little bit different to me. It had some momentum at the beginning of the day, and it just basically kept on going. So this was nice. I took multiple targets in this. I'm still holding a piece. And same thing, I did this in CrowdStrike too. This did almost hit resistance. First thing that we talked about in the morning was a couple plays in the pre-market session. I talked about Netflix. Netflix did very well in the Emmys, and I just thought it was a logical trade, considering that we were seeing a little bit of strength this morning, and into from what we saw towards the end of last week too, some of this, I don't want to call them stay-at-home plays, but plays that are a little bit more growth names. So I thought Netflix could go today, and I basically got what I was looking for. I think I put this setup in the Market Webs channel this morning. Do. Yeah. So here was what I was saying this morning. I said Netflix, excuse me, did win the Emmys, and take a look. Right, I got the whole move that I was looking for, 463 to 487. Now I did not hold through all this. I didn't know that we were going to get a move, as strong as we did, especially at the end of the day. So I took profits. I went into some weekly calls first, basically right off the bat today. Took some profits. I rolled them into October 2nd. I wasn't getting, when I'm in short-term calls, I don't stay around to basically watch the paint dry if it's got a lot of premium on it. So I did take targets in this and got out of that one. I tried a quick trade in Etsy. I bailed on it. And then I went over and noticed, you kind of see some things as the day evolves. Some of the setups that we talked about over the weekend did start to materialize. So I took PayPal. I also went into CrowdStrike, which I thought also was compelling, that this thing was holding up pretty nicely. And so this worked really well. So, we caught a couple really nice ones. I hope you did in your trading day as well today. But, we'll see. Let's talk a little bit about when I say let's see, let's talk a little bit about the indices. I wanted this virgin point of control to be taken out to the downside. We were so close to this. This was at basically down to 3205, and we came within a hair of taking this VPOC out. But the positive thing is we're back inside value, so we don't have to worry about these virgin point of controls, which this is the one from back in August, that this value area. Notice the price action did not get into the value area at all. And that left, if the price doesn't cross the point of control, what happens is it leaves what's called a virgin point of control. Price will sometimes return back to here, but you don't have to worry about them unless we're trading outside of the value area. So we did experience that during the day, but we did close back inside value. So we'll see if this kind of leads to a little bit more of of a bounce, and that's why I kept some trades on that I started today, just to see if we get some follow through. We know that we haven't really had a lot of follow through, and if we look at the 1 hour chart, one thing that's been very apparent looking at an S&P chart or a Q's chart is not being able to kind of get out of this trend of making lower highs. So, this happened obviously starting back here, and since then lower high, lower high, lower high, a test here, to try to turn the corner, couldn't do it, fail right at the bottom of value, by the way. So again, ValueAir is doing a great job at giving us a roadmap. We tried again in the middle of last week, failed once we had FOMC, lower high here, and we don't know how this is going to turn out yet, right? We don't have enough information. But also, by the way, look at this VPOC too, almost taken out. So I would like to see us come back and push a little bit further tomorrow, and that would be a place to, in my opinion, take more off the table in your trading account. or in my trading. Again, I'm not telling you what to do. This information is for information purposes only, but I would be looking to kind of take off, some more things into strength, and then kind of see how this price, handles, kind of retesting that lower high area, right? And really, where it got interesting today was in the Qs. So we could look at the Qs chart, or we could look at Nasdaq, but it's kind of the same thing here. It's a little bit different, but we failed at similar places. We are now in value for the week, which is great to see. So again, different picture right now for the Qs, and you can see we're still rallying here a little bit. So that's pretty decent and pretty impressive move from the lows to the highs today to the end of day. And if we go back, we did this backwards, but if we look at the 1 hour, sorry, not at the 1 hour, at the daily chart today, we're also back in value. So again, one day is not a trend, and we've seen a couple of these green days in the last couple of weeks. We just need a little follow through, a little push to see if that's going to materialize. There's a couple of things here on the chart that look constructive too. If we go back to the 1 hour. Note that I guess really on the daily, the RSI did not make a new, did not get oversold. We didn't see this kind of push in here and get much lower than this. So a little bit of a bullish divergence there. I think that's pretty decent. And a couple of the names that I traded, Crowd, I sent out this chart on Sunday, I think, on public Twitter. But yeah, it was showing, I thought, some relative strength to this. So, this is a nice move, and I'll look for a little bit of continuation tomorrow. Also, Shopify looked pretty good too today. That made a nice move. A few other names. Viva Software was a name that we saw a lot of January 22 calls go up last week. So this is kind of at an interesting point. Right, so if you're not in this trade and you missed this move today, which is only 2%, what I would watch now, and I'll put this on the right, I would watch for a move above value. If Viva Software can get above 272, then you could look for a move to 285. But it's got to get out of value first. And this level, call it 273, I think also lines up on the daily chart too. So this would be really nice if Viva Software, I know this is a name that's difficult to play. The options are very wide in it. They don't make them easy sometimes for this kind of thing. I also thought JD looked pretty good too. JD.com also got back above value. So, something to work on. And, like I said, one day is not a trend, but, I think some really good performance. And it's funny how starting the day down like this can kind of bring out the buyers. When we kind of come into the day where we're flat or up 20 basis points, anybody who still has to sell can say, hey, I got a little bit of a green market to sell into. When we're down this much, it really just invites a little bit of the dip buying, and we certainly saw that in the tech space. So interesting again, to see some of these areas again, metals and mining really strong last week, down 7.4% today. So really tricky. The banks too, right? There were some stories about, I don't really know how much of this impacts the banks, but I could tell you one thing: I just don't want to be a part of these banks, right? There was a story today which affected HSBC too as well for money laundering, like from years ago. I mean, it's just another thing, right? And it just shows that the bad news in the banks just crushes them. And any good news that comes out, like, these names were like up a little bit last week. So again, a lot of relative weakness within this group. I've talked about this KRE, which looks like it's breaking down. And it did break, pretty decently. So, down 4.7%. It's a big problem area. So I don't know if the market's completely, when you look at something like this, it's hard to say that the market's out of the woods in terms of the dip that we've seen in the last 3 weeks. I think it's going to be from, if I had to make any prediction, we've got how many weeks till the election? About 5 weeks. It's probably going to be this choppy type of market a bit, where you're going to have to again, in my opinion, I don't want to say you, but what I'm going to be doing is basically trying to sell those rips, and then try to be patient and wait for some of these setups to materialize to kind of buy the dip a little bit. But I don't know if we're going to see this market trend again until I'll have an open mind certainly, but I don't know if we're going to see this market trend again until we get past the election. So we'll see. And again, I'll have an open mind because certainly we're seeing, we've seen some relative strength in a couple names, that which started towards the end of last week. All right, guys, have a great night. See you tomorrow. Really nice trading day, by the way. Have a great night, everybody.